What's going on? Welcome to Tech with Sean. And about a month or so ago, Best Buy had one of their GPU drop events in store where people line up and stuff. So I drove up to the Tacoma store at like 4 a.m. and got in line. And even though there was about 100 people in front of me, they still had like 3 different cards left when they came to me. They had a 3060, 3060 Ti, and a 3080 Ti. So being an enthusiast, I decided to pick up the 3080 Ti. And today we're just going to take a look at this EVGA FTW3 Ultra WTF BBQ edition card and see what all you get for the price tag. So this here behemoth box is for the RTX 3080 Ti, and today I'm just going to be going over some of the features and stuff about this specific card. This isn't going to be a full review of the 3080 Ti itself compared to the whole stack of NVIDIA cards. There's lots of other videos like that. I don't have all those cards on hand to test it against. I do have one other powerful Ampere card to kind of compare it to. I have the 3080 MSI Ventus card, so I can kind of talk about how this compares to that, even though, I'm not going to directly compare performance between them. The 3080 Ti isn't the best bang for the buck GPU out there, I will say that, but if you're looking for something high-end, it's going to let you get 3090 performance basically for less money at the expense of cutting the VRAM down to 12 gigabytes. This FTW3 Ultra model has all the features and it's built pretty solidly. It's got a beefy heatsink, triple fan cooler, RGB lighting, dual BIOS, RGB and auxiliary fan headers, lots of sensors on board. So even though it carries a high-end price tag, it basically has all the features that you'd want in a high-end graphics card. Now about that dual BIOS switch, when it's on normal, you're going to have a 350 watt power limit, but if you bump it over to OC, I've heard it can go up to 450 watts and it definitely will pull over 400 watts. So if you're going to run the OC BIOS, you definitely want to make sure you have enough airflow and cooling to cool that much wattage. For any testing I do in this video, I'll revert it to the default profile, but for my own day-to-day use, I'm running an undervolt, and I'm getting basically the same performance with way less heat, and it's pulling about 100 less watts. So I would definitely look into undervolting if you're going to game on one of these. It's going to be a great GPU for 4K gaming or 1440p high refresh gaming, though if you're running a 1080p monitor, depending on what games you play, the CPU memory you have, and a bunch of other factors, you may not get the full benefit of a card like this. While I don't have another 3080 Ti, compared to my MSI Ventus 3080 card, this pulls more power, but it's way quieter. This is like whisper quiet compared to the Ventus. And also, EVGA seems to be using a higher quality thermal pad than MSI because even though they both have the same GDDR6X memory, this one runs about 15C cooler on the memory. I ended up swapping out the thermal pads on my Ventus because I was worried about the temperatures on it, but these are totally fine out of the box. The GPU core itself is cooler than on the Ventus also. I've been really happy with the FTW3 Ultra so far. It's been tearing it up in all the games I've been playing. This card is up in the diminishing returns area, so compared to the 3080 and some games you might not notice a lot of difference, but other games like Cyberpunk, this was able to bump me up over 60 frames per second. So on my 3080, where I'm running some settings, Ultra RTX stuff, and I have the DLSS on quality, and it's hovering right around that 50-55 frames per second. But if I bumped that DLSS to performance, then I'm good to go. But on the 3080 Ti, I can leave it on that quality mode, and I have the smooth 60 frames lock going on. So there is a noticeable difference, but it's only going to be in games where you're really pushing the GPU and you have the ability, of your system to push it farther, but you're just bottlenecked by that GPU. I really wish I had some other 3080 Ti's to compare it directly against because I'm sure that it's running quieter and maybe performing better than something like the Founders Edition, but it's hard to say that definitively if I don't have one on hand to compare it to. While I'm really happy with this card, I'll be the first to say it's not for everybody. It's not going to fit in a lot of cases. You're going to need a real big power supply. You're going to need a big wallet for it, various other factors. This is not going to be a mid-range card for everybody, but if you're an enthusiast, if you're looking for that top tier performance, I personally, for gaming at this point in time, would probably rather have this over like a Founders Edition 3090 just because this is going to be quieter, cooler, maybe even deliver a little bit more performance in games because it runs at a higher clock speed. But you are losing out on the VRAM, and in the future, will 12 gigabytes be a big holdback if you're gaming at 1440p or 4K? Who knows? But I know that 24 gigs that you're paying for in the 3090, that's totally overkill for most games, and you're really not going to use that at all. So that's going to be preferable for maybe machine learning, some types of production environments where people use tons and tons of VRAM. But for gaming, I personally would probably rather have an AIB 3080 Ti over the Founders Edition 3090. And if you're in the market for a card like this 3080 Ti FTW3 Ultra is a good one to pick up. I mean, you got all the features, all the lighting, it's quiet, it's fast, and as long as you're willing to pony up the dough for it, I think you're going to be pretty happy with its performance. And thanks for watching along though. This video wasn't sponsored by anybody but myself, so if you would give us a like or subscribe, it really helps out the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.